Hello and welcome to Real Life with Dr. Ridah Khan Bally. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
So, Bally, this film is close to home. I went to the screening, I attended it, and I have to say that my first job as a junior doctor in the NHS was on a geriatrics ward.
No
So
way.
for me, this film was like almost watching a day at work, but not quite because we know what happens. So hopefully it's not a day at work. But it was really interesting, And when I first saw that this film is held in like a geriatrics ward, and then we have a stereotypical Asian doctor, we've got everything. It was really interesting, and I thought it was great. What I wanted to ask you, Bally, is preparing for this role and obviously getting into the research and trying to be Dr. Valentine. Did you understand like the pressures the hospital faces? Did you get close to it? What was your insight?
You know what? You're more of the expert than I am now. I feel like I'm like,
I hope I haven't made you nervous about this whole thing. It's going to be like a different interview in your head.
no, I'm sweating. I'm literally sweating now. No, you know what? I couldn't imagine what you've gone through and people like you have gone through to do this job. Honestly, it's I did research. I went into hospital. We couldn't really go like physically into hospital because it was lockdown when we were
Oh, right, yeah.
so it was just a lot of conversations. It was a lot of YouTube as well. I had to, YouTube, and then eventually sort of going onto set. We had a professional there with us that would teach us, if we were administrating anything or anything that was medical or stuff. So but I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly how to do your job. Like
No,
the job.
but you portrayed our job very well, I have to say. Like, if we had more time, because obviously during the day we don't have the time that obviously you showed in the film, but the empathy and the pulse, it was caught really, really well, delivered really well by you. I wanted to say that during this whole film, you've worked with really great British talent on this film. Being an actor, this is your first film, right? Because you've worked in TV series. So how is the stepping stone from TV series, which is also you've done medical drama? And the audience, there's a lot of audience that I speak to who actually love medical shows. Because if you ever tell them, oh yeah, anything about medicine, if they find out you're doing medicine, they'll like always talk about a show that they've watched. You'll be like, is it really like that? So how is it like? Because you end up working in these like medical shows, medical films. You're
Yeah.
like the TV doctor now.
I don't know what is the thing. I must have the face for it. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I was thinking this is gonna hurt as well. Well, I didn't get to play a doctor in that one, but
Yeah.
I think I must have just an aura and a vibe for it, to be honest. But I love it. I honestly, I'm lucky with this one because in Allelujah we didn't have so many technical medical names and stuff. That was the one that might slip up, when you have to kind of write it on your hand because
Yeah.
I didn't you like.
No, I also get very shy because when you have to pronounce like big names, and sometimes I say it very confidently, but I confidently pronounce it wrong, and it's so embarrassing. You'll sit there in the MDT, and then you're saying like these big words because you say it how you read it, but obviously it's not until you're in the world that you know how it's pronounced, and most of them are pronounced very differently to the way they spell. So
Yeah,
I
and it's all
understand.
kind of it's all like Latin and like old school Latin and it's incredible. But I
Yeah.
always get it when I read it. I always get it wrong. I'm going like someone probably needs you, to be honest. I need you to say how do you say this? How do you say this? But
Yeah, exactly.
no, but it was amazing to be on that set with those actors as well, with those incredible like icons, really. Nerve-wracking a little bit, first.
Great learning opportunity too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like learning, just like seeing how just down to earth they are as well. I think sometimes we build it up in our heads, like, oh my God, these guys and what they've done and what they've achieved. And yes, rightfully so, but they're all down to earth and really like welcoming and really like just, took me under their wing and just, yeah, it was incredible.
But I always feel badly. I feel like, anyone who's like a big superstar, they're actually the humble ones. It's the ones that aren't the superstars that are a bit, uptight, throw a bit of arrogance around. But the actual legitimate superstars out there in the world, they're actually very nice if you meet them.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Not naming names, but for sure, yeah.
So, Bally, coming from, I know this is a very kind of this question's probably predictable, but I kind of have to ask it because you're Asian. It's a doctor film. You know, did you ever have like coming to your family, you know, when you have to like doing your GCSEs, A levels, going on to university? Did they ever? There was used to be this joke. There used to be like, you know, this. I think it's from Goodness Gracious Me, where he was like, "Mummy, mummy, I want to be an actor." He's like, "Sit back down. It's pronounced doctor." Did you have that kind of situation growing up when you said, "I want to be an actor"?
You know what? It was all tongue in cheek. It's all sort of like, I think in our family, I think that obviously they would have wanted me to potentially have done that. I was just not smart enough to do it. I'll be honest with you. Like there was,
I don't believe. I think everyone's smart. No, no, no.
they were trying to force it into. I just don't think I was. You see, at school, I just wanted. Like I was quite lazy, and I just didn't want like the hassle of things.
Creative.
I think I didn't realize because we, you know, growing up in the area that we grew up in, the school that I went to, arts wasn't, and it still is now, to be fair, arts wasn't really seen as like a viable option. And I kind of came to it late. I kind of came to it when I was like 17, 18. And then I was like, oh, got the sort of acting bug. And then I wanted to do that. And that was the sort of thing that kind of spurred me. And then it kind of snowballed after that. I was like, to be honest, I think I just watched sort of younger, when I was a lot younger, I was just watched the Harry Potter films and I was like, I want to be in them. Do you know what I mean? Like just in the background, like, you know, just sort of like as an extra. But I didn't know we've got no one in the family to, when you've got no one in the family to like tell you acting or teach you the industry, it's hard. I think it's just so tough. And you know, and then you wind up
mold coming from where you come from and coming from a family that didn't have that background. It's really great. They must be proud of you to see your posters around London. You know, they're all there in the tube stations with Allelujah. How does it feel? It must be surreal.
It's a bit mind-boggling. But you know what? I used to kind of shy away from it, and now I just embrace all of it, man. I embrace, you never know what's going to happen, you know, with your career, whatever. I just really like the success of it all is actually it's for my mum and my dad and my family, because when I did tell them, they supported me fully, wholeheartedly in this industry. And you know, and supported me through drama school and came to see the shows, and even when the shows weren't great, they came to see the shows and they were like, no, good, you know. So it's all the successes for them, you know, everything, every post I send it back to them, everything I send it back to them and say
really thank you so much. And coming back to the film for Allelujah, I wanted to say, you know, Bally, in this film, you play Dr. Valentine. He's this Asian boy. His family is also very proud of him being a doctor. You know, there's a stereotypical of Asian boy who's a doctor, and almost like if you don't fit that mold, even like being a girl, like I feel like, because you know, like my brother is a doctor as well. So everyone will kind of go to him automatically about stuff, and they'll be like, excuse me, but I'm here too. But it's almost like, no, but he's like the stereotypical Asian boy doctor. So, you know, things are just a bit different when it comes to him. I wanted to ask you, coming into these films and shows, how necessary do you think it was for your character to have that Asian accent? You know, because it can fall into that kind of stereotypical Asian doctor with the thick Asian accent and portraying doctors to be like that. But do you think, how necessary do you think as an actor it is to have that accent and the importance of that in the role?
I know I did question it when we first started. This was a play before. And so it was written into the fabric of the show that they wanted someone from an outsider's point of view to kind of voice sort of, you know, someone that kind of can look at it from a clear perspective and not have political ideas about what it should be, and
not be so by the book.
Not be so by the book. And so actually, because I think as long as it's done respectfully, you know, especially if it's people that are not from the culture, putting that into a show, an accent or something, as long as it's done respectfully and it's important to the story, then I think it's okay, and discussion is massively important to it. But you know what, there needs to be more representation around just using sort of our accents. You know, we don't see a lot of that in the media in Britain. We don't see a lot of that in the TV shows that are made on TV or streaming sites, like even regional accents, you know. So it's important. I do think it's really important that we hold on to our accents and really celebrate them. So But there's also the other flip side is like we have to do, you know, we have to representative of everything as well. So
Yeah.
um
Diversity, of
yeah.
course. How hard was it to do actor? When I was going to interview, I wasn't sure actually. I was like, I don't know if he is Indian. Like, is he going to have the Indian accent? Is he from England? Because obviously, I've just seen you in this like film, so it must be difficult. Because I think to maintain that accent throughout like every scene, and what you obviously don't want it to sound like you're mocking an accent either. So it has to just be perfect. How was it as an actor for you to, you know, get into character for Dr. Valentine?
Yeah, I remember we had a viewing and I went straight up to mum and dad and was like, you know, accent was good, yeah, good.
That was
Like, I was
amazing.
just like, it's good, yeah, believable, okay, believable. That's
Yeah.
I don't care about the acting, just the
Yeah.
accent. But I think you know what, I did worry about it. I just didn't want, like, you know, like your auntie aunt to be like, oh, it doesn't make sense, or he sounded wrong, or he didn't. And also I didn't want to be, like you said, I didn't want it to be, you know, where anytime like we put, I suppose, British people, they're not all the time, but when we put that accent on, it feels like we're kind of mocking it, or sort of, you know,
Yeah.
taking the out of it. And I don't want that. I wanted it to be so like serious, taken really with a lot of respect. Because that representation is important, because all we do is, if we have to put an Indian accent, we make it really funny and over the top. And I was like, absolutely not. And I think that needs to change as well. So those stories, that when we have to do those stories, that we show it a level of respect, and don't feel insecure about it, and don't feel like we're hiding away from it, or embarrassed, or like ashamed of it. It's part of us. Do you know what I mean?
So my last question to you, Valley, is that in this film, your name, which I thought was very relatable, so your name is like this long Asian name, so that's where you've turned into Dr. Valentine, or the patients love you, the ward loves you, you know, you literally are such like the heartbeat of the ward, you know, your character's really beautiful. I really loved it. And I think the final scene, I think, really summed up the whole post. It's just, and it was quite emotional too. I found the film quite emotional. And I think just, you know, the pressures, the over people, you know, when I don't think people know that are outside of this world of how it can be like, and how overwhelming it can be. And just having to deal with different things that you probably don't deal with in other jobs, you know, that you, and the things that you're exposed to and that you see. And I think that final scene that you have, you probably obviously know what I'm talking about. The audience will find out once they see this film, 17th of March. I think that's such an important scene, and it's really beautiful, and it was like, it's very emotional as well. So like, coming back to the name, you changed it to Dr. Man. So I get this a lot. No one, I think, at work can pronounce my name properly, and I was almost like, okay, whatever now, you know, it's like, it's all right. But I think I like the way in the film you just changed it to like a really nice nickname, because you realize no one can really pronounce it. But your name's Bally, so it must have not been that bad. Or is Bally also short form for?
Well, it's Balvinder. The full name is Balvinder Gill.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
so it got changed to Bally, but I don't know how it got changed. People always ask me, but I always, like, I think it was at school that it got changed. But interestingly enough, like I was doing something, I was filming over in Canada, and they would say Bali. And so,
Oh, so
like,
even that got
so,
me.
and then I was like, oh, but my name's and they could pronounce Balvinder perfect. I was like, I need to
Oh,
change it
wow.
back. I was like, I
Yeah,
need to change
yeah,
the name
literally.
back. I need to, but because I always used to think that Balvinder they'd struggle with Balvinder, and actually,
Yeah,
when it's broken down, I think people can say that name actually sometimes easier
yeah.
than the shortened version of my name, which you never know. You know what? I might, you know, in about 2 years' time, I'll be like, but I'll change it. I'll change the acting name.
So what are the future goals right now? We've got from TV's gotten into films. Any future goals? Now this is just the beginning, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, more TV, more film, a couple of projects coming up. Can never really discuss any of the things because we're not
Cool.
allowed to.
Yeah.
But, you know, you never know. Judi Dench might, you know, the next James Bond's coming up. Do you know what I mean?
You never know. We're looking for a diverse James Bond, aren't we?
But you never know. Another Doctor Who could be Doctor Who. You know,
The world is your oyster, Valley, at
what
this
is-
point.
we've got to make it happen. We've got to congregate together and, like, you know, campaign and pitch it.
Yeah,
So.
no, definitely. You know, I hope to meet you in person at one of these events. I'm sure, so it won't be over the internet, but it'll be in person. I wish you all the best. It's been really great. Love seeing you as Dr. Valentine. Like I said, the last scene was just, you know, nailed it. Great, and it reminded us as well why we do this. You know, it's beyond the 9 to 5, and I just think it's great. Definitely a must watch for everyone, an eye opener. And thank you. It's been a pleasure, Bally.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you for everything that you're doing. You know, honestly, thank you.